timing adjust and change as they get some of those cases going. The big news, I guess the biggest or most important news that we're seeing right now is that, all right, so in the employment-based green cards, we have 140,000 employment-based green cards given out each year, okay? It's then put through a machine or an algorithm that just breaks it out based on country cap. Countries are capped because countries have a certain amount of immigration per year, and when they reach too many, that country has too many immigrants, then you have to backlog that country, okay? So what we see right now is we see those numbers happening, and then because numbers aren't used every year, okay, because numbers are not used every year, the family-based unused visas from last year, immigrant green cards, will fall into the employment-based green cards for this year. So we already knew that from last year, right? We knew that from last year because our numbers were up. We were up from 140,000 to I think like 210,000 or something like that. And this year we're seeing almost 150,000 more visas falling into the employment-based category. And that's really, really good news, okay? If you're in line for an employment-based green card from India specifically and China as well, you have a very, very good chance of seeing those numbers move. Just keep in mind, they allocate those numbers by quarter. There's 4 quarters per year. And the Department of State is the one who announces in their visa bulletin what they're doing and how they're doing things, okay? So we're going to see some of that happen over time, and we're going to get some news and see where it goes. All right, I got a couple questions I'm going to hit really quick and go from there. Any news on asylum? You know, asylum's a real tough one. Asylum is individuals who are afraid to return home because of fear of persecution in their home country based on one of 5 things, right? Race, religion, nationality, members of a particular social group, or political opinion. And, you know, asylum has traditionally been, you know, it's from the United Nations. It's for individuals with problems. For example, we see Burma, right, with all this political upheaval. But what we mostly see asylum for is individuals who are afraid to return home, especially in North America and Mexico, and then Central America. We see people afraid to return home because of fear of general crime or general harm. And one of the things we see is a lot of people coming to the border, a lot of people asking questions about trying to get asylum from south of the border. So one thing I will say that those of you who don't know is that getting asylum or filing for asylum, there's 2 kinds, right? There's really like, hi, I'm from Iran and I spoke out against the Iranian government. Well, Iran is traditionally a very authoritarian state, and people who speak out against them are afraid of their lives. That is like your quintessential, clear-cut, just that is asylum. But what we see more of here in the United States is we see asylum seekers who are either just, they have nowhere else to go, they have nothing else they can do, or we see them in immigration court getting deported, and they're like, no, I really am afraid of going home. As an attorney, I faced a lot of those cases where, on both sides, when I was a prosecutor, I faced them as a prosecutor saying, sorry, you don't qualify, and here's why I'm fighting against you. But as a private bar attorney, which I've done much longer and spent most of my career as, we actually have an individual who says, I'm afraid to go home. And here's the really, really hard part. When you go to court, the judge says, hi, are you afraid to go home? Now, my client has no clue that asylum means afraid to go home because of race, religion, nationality, religious opinion, political opinion, particular social group. They just say, yeah, I'm afraid to go home. And then the judge looks at me and says, why haven't you filed an asylum? And then I look pretty bad, right? If I'm like, well, I just don't think they're going to win. It's like, well, that's not your job, right? That's not your job to say you don't think your client's going to win. So asylum, you know, the very first question I got is what's happening with asylum? I mean, asylum is really, it's so much bigger than what we all know about. So in any case, that's a little rundown on asylum. Asylum right now is a way to get a work permit. Individuals in court do file them. Asylum is traditionally backlogged very, very far, deep into the past. In fact, I have clients waiting for 4 or 5 years for their stuff. So the news on asylum is it's still on a LIFO, last in, first out. That means if you file now, they might try to do an interview for you right away, get your case out. People who've been in the line are just going to be waiting for a long time. All right, can city governments, agencies sponsor H-1B? That's a great question because anyways, I have some close family that was sponsored by the state of California. And when we did the case, I did the case for them, I had to get the permission and the sign-offs, and eventually somebody from Sacramento sent just a letter saying this is okay, right? We can sponsor somebody for this. So it's really going to be up to the city or the state or the government agency. They might have their own sort of hiring mandates or rules in regards to how they support their city, meaning we have to hire citizens of our city to rather than other people. Okay, so it'll depend on them. If they do want to sponsor you, you should go for it. If you're working for a city government on a contract, you should try to get in with a contractor, right? I've done a lot of cases where, like, one of my clients used to be with a consulting group, and the consulting group was hired by the city of LA to revamp the entire sewage treatment facilities. And there's 3 facilities that are very, very big, and all their engineers came through this consulting group who had the contract for that. So that's one way to do it. All right. All right. Lots of questions piling up. Love it, guys. Let's see what I can do. All right. What about Asylum Green Card Backlog? National Benefit Center doesn't even give processing times. There should not be a green card backlog, specifically as in a numerical backlog, because those are Section 208 green cards that fall, 209, sorry, that fall outside the 203 green card process. 203 is the section of the law that handles family and employment based. So technically, there shouldn't be a backlog on those. In fact, if there's a backlog, there's just a processing backlog, and that's because that last president who hated immigration stuck his hand in there and just made a mess, right? So I would say that's all I would say for right now. I don't know specifically about backlogs. The National Visa Center doesn't give a lot of updated information as well either, so don't worry about that so much. Nice tie. Oh, hey, thanks. Thanks, Chestine. D. Chestine. Any news on VAWA? I don't know. What is there to say? VAWA. Yeah, VAWA. Okay, so VAWA means if you're Violence Against Women Act is what it stands for. Clinton passed it, and since that time, we have had a green card process through VAWA. VAWA means you file a petition. That petition has 2 parts. 1, you're legitimately, legally married. Number 2, you're the subject to mental, emotional, or physical abuse. We've been doing those. The VAWA cases, fall into the category based upon the spouse. If the spouse is a green card holder, you fall into the F2B category, F2A category. If the spouse is a citizen, you're an immediate relative. So those cases are working. Oh, yeah, the backlog. So, guys, to be honest with you, my staff does the backlog for me. I think the VAWA backlog is like over 13 months. Yeah, on the I-360s. It's over 13 months. It's a very, very long time. So don't hold out, don't hold your breath thinking that that's going to come out and get fixed really, really soon. All right. What happened here? Any news on the travel ban lift from India specifically? No news on the India travel ban lift. I do think that we're going to see something in regards to the vaccine part, which should be which should basically say that if you are vaccinated, you get to travel regardless of the ban. Remember, this is a ban not based on the human beings or something. It's a ban based upon COVID-19 statistical analysis of what exists and how do we prevent the spread of it coming to the United States. So India travel ban right now is in effect, and November 4th goes into effect the lifting of the travel ban from Europe if you have a vaccine. We'll have to look into whether that is also being lifted from India on the vaccine part. We'll have to check that out and maybe do a quick video on that tomorrow or this week. Help, what about Asylum Green Card backlog? Can my current employer sponsor my green card? I'm OPT. Short answer is yes. Long answer is very, very detailed, Xian 585. What you need to know is that you don't have dual intent when you... Oh, you're a music therapist. Oh my God. I do tons of music therapist cases. In fact, my wife is a music therapist, and I presented at the music therapy concert years ago down in San Diego, the national convention. And music therapists are some of my favorite people because the work they do is pretty fantastic and pretty amazing. And, if you're a board certified music therapist, that's great. If you have the master's degree, that's great. You should be able to get your green card. On terms of music therapy, OPT sponsoring for it, the short answer is OPT can get a green card from an employer. Your problem is going to be your travel during that time, right? And of course, the end of OPT and the timing of the green card process, because it might not just work out for you perfectly, where it all falls into line and you move straight from your OPT into your green card, okay? And if you're a music therapist, you might not have STEM OPT, you might have the 12-month OPT. So it's highly likely you have to go back to school or do something else in the time period after you get a perm approved or an I-140 filed, okay? I can walk you through that process. If you want to make an appointment with me, please do. And give us a follow, Shion. We do lots of good information on that stuff. Check out our YouTube videos, tons of YouTube videos. In fact, we'll be doing a new YouTube platform. Well, it's not a platform. We're doing a new YouTube. We're going to curate our videos a little bit better, specifically relating to like F1 and some other stuff. But we'll announce that later on in the year. All right, help. What about Asylum green card backlog? So the green card backlog for Asylum will be capped based upon the numbers of Asylum, per year granted, but I've never seen that be a problem. I have to look into that. We got to look into the Asylum green card backlog. All right, let's get back into it. Hi, MPro3. Hello, right back at you. Oh, Naza Reggie followed the host. Hey, thanks for the follow, Naza. No bio. Lots of followers though. DS Garo. Hi, I did my biometrics 823. How long does it take to get a work permit under a VAWA case? That's going to be hard because you need the I-360 generally approved or in the stage of approval where they think it's prima facie approved. They usually send a notice out to you saying something like that and saying you're eligible with this notice to go file for your work permit. So it's going to take a while. Right now they're at like 13 plus months on that. All right. But the biometrics isn't the point. The point is when they make an assessment of your case. Melissa 35, how long currently Asylum to get green card right now for last in, first out? So if you're the last in, first out, that means for your appointment. It doesn't mean for your actual green card. So two parts to the Asylum, right? When you file your I-589, getting that appointment is on the LIFO process. Now, if you've already been approved for your green card, it's just simply you're in line based upon the approval. The numbers on the approval of the refugees being granted green card status have had some backlog, and you should be able to get a new stamp for your refugee to be continued in the future and your white book to be continued in the future as well, okay? So, I see a lot of people. I see some floating heads here, the little smiley faces with a kiss. Thanks a lot, whoever's sending those. That's so nice. Or maybe that's just random. Is that random? Does anybody know?
No, they're sending it.
Oh, thanks a lot. Who's sending those? I wish I knew who's sending that. There's no way for me to know, is there? Okay. Thanks a lot. Love it. You guys are so kind. Appreciate it. I misplaced my green card. Oh, sorry for you. I need to travel outside the USS. What should I do? You need to file an I-90 right away. If you're misplaced it or lost or stolen, you have to really be careful about what you do. Then you have to take that receipt notice that you have for your I-90 and you have to make an online biometrics an appointment to get a stamp. And that only happens at your federal building. It doesn't happen at the ASC centers, okay? So you have to prove that you have filed. You should prove that you have that status. Show that you are, obviously not a criminal or anything like that. And then make an appointment to go get a stamp in your passport as an extension for 1 year. All right. Hi, my biometrics 823 doesn't see the VAWA. Yeah, the VAWA is, like I said, I already answered that one. So that one's going to be about, about getting that notice from the VAWA office, okay? How long currently assigned a green card right now for last in, first out? If you haven't had an interview yet, you have a long wait. If you have an approval notice, it's very different. You're just in line, and it's the numbers of green card approvals. I read that Biden increased the numbers, but the number that he increased it by is very, very low. So I don't think it's going to change things dramatically. I think it was like some tens of thousands. It wasn't like 50 or 100,000. How many days after USCIS is sending a receipt letter from Texas office nowadays? Oh, everything's still the same, 2 to 3 weeks. Usually we get notices at the 4-week mark at the latest, okay? All right. Are 765 130 fees waived to file 485? Yes, they are, Raj, 555 777. They are. So you should do that. Oh, I skipped way ahead. Is anti-immigration still going strong? Thoughts? Asked by TikTok. Yeah, actually it is really going strong. It's going stronger than you think. Frankly, there's a lot of... The last president stirred things up in a way that created falsehoods and myths, and those became the reality. Because we're now living in a world where we live in a world today. Okay, now I'm older than a lot of you guys out there, I'm from the world where there were newspapers and people, had a news stream. By stream, I mean on TV. And it was generally accepted what is and what isn't. Okay. And over the years, the last 20 years specifically in the United States, they spent a lot of time debunking climate change and certain kind of science. That has now spilled over into everything. And the last president did the most he could to do that by creating separate realities, alternate realities, by saying that these facts aren't true, but it is true because I believe it's true. It's a lot of bullshit going on. All right, what that all leads to is there are really some very basic facts about the types of people that come to the United States, the types of groups of people, and there's really, really raw data. There's just actual data that shows us who comes, what they do, and what they don't do. And I've been an immigration attorney for 20 something years, and in the end, what we see and what we know to be true is the very, very small number of the people who come to the United States are actually criminals, are actually individuals out there committing crimes. And the very, very big numbers, from highly skilled entrepreneurs to billionaires down to low skilled workers, are the majority of the individuals who immigrate to the United States, the majority of them. And from literally the people who pick your strawberries, the people who cook your food, the processing at meat processing plants, the processing, from construction fields, all the way to tech fields, it's full of immigrants. And these immigrants have nowhere to go. All right, so you want my opinion? I'm going to tell you, but my opinion is the people who come here cannot retreat to their parents' house if things don't work. They can't go back and live somewhere else. They have nowhere to go, okay? So these people are always working to make it better. They are always working to make it better. They are never sitting back and saying, well, this didn't work out for me. Screw it, I'm going to go live at my mom and dad's house. They can't be the 40-year-old failure. They can't be anything like that. So my opinion is that, immigration on the whole has been dramatically beneficial to the United States. Dramatically beneficial. And I'm not even getting into the individuals who've come to the United States and the specific things that they have done. On the whole, it's better. What are my thoughts on what's going on right now is that things are really entered this place where the reality of these contributions, the reality of what the small number of people do, has been totally transposed so that what we see and hear about is nothing but the one guy who did something wrong, the one guy who's a murderer or a criminal, whatever like that. And it's never, ever balanced out. And that's what news works. News works because that guy shot somebody, we're going to put him on the news. It's not, hey, that guy shot somebody, put him on the news. Here's 50,000 people who never shot anybody, and they pay taxes, they make $100,000 a year, and they buy houses, and they create jobs. That is not in the news stream. So I think the anti-immigration thing that's going on right now is extremely negative, and it's not only is it extremely, it's growing. So for right now, there's a huge group on Twitter. I follow them, and this group simply says that there are no jobs for tech workers, and all the American companies are seeking out Indian tech workers to pay them $15 an hour under the table, and it's all fake and it's all a fraud. I mean, this is a Twitter group that's got a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand people. I don't check that, but they're constantly showing, here's an ad, $15 an hour, master's degree. And this is sort of a negative news stream and a negative feed that's not really based on reality. And it's not based on reality because I see the employers and I see the jobs. And I work with those companies all the time. We have an aerospace company. We see them all the time. They make specific kinds of aerospace products for airplanes. It's a special thing. They're always hiring. They're constantly hiring. And it's for mechanical engineers and then aero engineers, but mostly mechanical engineers because they build specific kinds of products. And I see that all the time, and they always need to hire somebody. So right now, my opinion on is anti-immigration still going strong? My answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. And it's fed by a false narrative, by things that aren't necessarily true, things that aren't necessarily real. And I'm not even sorry for the people out there who believe this stuff. If you cannot be discerning, if you cannot look at something and critically just simply see there's benefits and there's negatives, but on the whole, there's a benefit, that's just you deciding to be negative. That's just you taking a negative vibe. That's just you basically being a bad person. And a bad person meaning like, I just don't believe this and I think it's wrong. It's because you don't like somebody, you got to hang up, or you've got something else going on for you. So yeah, anti-immigration stuff is really bad. And in fact, they're very loud. And my opinion is that we're heading into a more disparate world where there'll be separation between people. And that means people who believe things that aren't real or semi-real or semi-not real. And it's gonna shake up the whole way we think. The pandemic has proved it. we have these sort of non-science based I will not get vaccinated people, and they cite sort of their scientific beliefs, and this is the way the world is going. All right, and the United States is right in the middle of it, and I'm sure many countries are as well. I know, actually, I know. I have family in India who loved the last president, and then they won't get vaxxed. My uncle who passed away was a doctor who refused to get vaxxed. So there you go, man. My anti-immigration feelings, it's still going. My feelings, it's still going, and I think that, you know, rhetoric has fueled it and made it worse. And I think this new world of false beliefs or non-facts based realities is also going in that direction. Um, got it. Thanks for your insights. Somebody said that was nice. Same questions. My interview has been pending for 2 years. Oh my God. All right, depends what kind of interview you have. What's happening? Did you have one interview? Did it get misplaced? Is it an asylum interview? If it's an asylum interview, that's normal, very, very normal. But if you're talking about a family-based green card or something else where you have the green card ready for you and you haven't gotten your interview for that, that's actually really, really bad. Call a lawyer, get involved, see if you can do to speed the process up. But if it's an asylum case, just wait. Talk to your lawyer on that. Talk to your lawyer on that. Hey, DS Garo, I think I answered your question. Hi, did my biometrics answer your question? Hello, sir, sorry, you already answered. Any progress on EB-based green card with recon bill? Yeah. So famasri. Okay, look, right now we're looking at new bills coming through. Right now, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of being announced. We talked about it in a video today, which we haven't released it yet, but there's a couple new bills looking at, and one of them is recapture 90,000 lost. I haven't seen anything in the reconstruction bill. I haven't seen anything get snuck into there that I would definitely say we should talk about that yet. If there is something, shoot me a chat or a text, and we'll definitely look into it. We try to stay abreast, but there's a lot of happenings right now. Nothing on that right now. What time for H4 average going on? It's horrible. It's 12 or 13 months, and hopefully you filed a joint with your work permit as well. What are the Texas processing times? I don't know those. I'm sorry. I called USS to expedite I-45. They said they can't do it. It doesn't involve EAD. Is it okay? Well, I don't understand what happened there. Now, if you called USCIS and said you wanted to expedite your I-45, there's a specific procedure for that, and your attorney's going to have to help you with that. Normally, to expedite a case, we're going to want to show what is happening that requires the expedited, processing. And so for right now, I don't really know what you presented and what you did. It doesn't involve an EAD. That doesn't make a lot of sense unless you call for the EAD expedite. Maybe you use the wrong receipt number. Any news on travel ban? Nope, it's still there. November 4th, we'll have the vaccination part of it. We're looking to see if that goes into India as well. What about the Haitian coming from Mexico? What's going to be their next step once they got admitted? So it's very, very sad. I mean, the news coming out of Haiti has actually been very, very tragic. It's been very, there's a lot of people in Haiti right now. And right now, what I'm seeing, and just so you know, I mean, I had some friends from Haiti when I went to school, and it's an amazing community and a really kind of beautiful culture. The Haitians that tried to come in were all forcibly deported by a rogue Border Patrol agency that engaged in subterfuge and lies to deport thousands of people before a delegation can visit the site at the border. Okay, that's what happened, right? I think we all know that. And it showed that, I tweeted about this personally, that I think that CBP and ICE are lawless, and they act outside the law in a way that is just, it's not American. It's the whole David Bowie, this is not America. This is not America, where they bust in thousands of ICE officers and Border Patrol officers. These agencies work together, and they just rounded everybody up and put them on planes and got them all out. They got them out within 4 days. They cleaned the whole place out. And when the delegation from Florida, which had a Haitian delegation on it, meaning Haitian representatives from Florida, showed up, there was nobody there. There's nobody there. So what happened was a lawless Border Patrol deported many, many people in a way that doesn't comport with immigration, does not comport with our Constitution. It just doesn't even make sense in terms of how we treat human beings. So, I'm not going to get into that. individuals who got into the United States should be looking at with an attorney to file for asylum. It's probably their only opportunity. The other chance would be to look at the Haitian TPS, but I don't think they qualify because you have to be in the United States prior to, I think, January 2021. So that's it. Okay. Processing times too slow. They are too slow. I agree. By the way, Nazaregi, they didn't get admitted. They kind of got in the United States. Some of them were stamped in with ICE to go do checkups, but they're not admitted under a specific term. It means they get a green card. Are you of Ethiopian descent? Oh, hi, thank you. No, I'm not. I'm Indian. My family's from India. Both my mom and dad. I always get that. No, I always get asked, are you Habesha? I'm not. Texas processing times. How to do my biometrics? 823. Yep, I got you, my friend. I responded to that one. Hello, sir. I want to go to India in December. I am not SU. Yeah, look, this going to India stuff, all my clients, the answer is no. I know it's Diwali coming up. I know people want to go be with their families. If you've got parents and stuff, I know it's important. With the travel ban, it's very, very hard to get back. And unless we know that it's lifted, I wouldn't advise going. STEM OPT. Oh, you're an F1. You can travel to India and come back. So if you have F1, you can travel. Apparently, that's not part of the travel ban. Check with your attorney, okay? Not me. I'm just a guy talking on the internet. My dad is undergoing dialysis in India. Do you think his green card will get rejected based on health? No. Short answer, no. Apple Music 633. Why? When the Constitution says anyone from anywhere can work in the U.S. Why? When the Constitution say? Where does it say in the Constitution? No, nobody says it's a Constitution. I didn't say that. I never said that, Apple Music 633. I didn't say that anybody can work in the United States. We have a process for that. It's called the H-1B work visa. And those are the people we're talking about. What I do is I get visas for people to work in the United States legally, and there's a specific process for them to go through, and it's not easy, and it's expensive. Forget about me. You pay the government like $3,000 for the process, okay? So, you're paying, you have an employer, and you have a job, and you can show you have the job. So there's no anybody can do anything in the United States. And that's a classic argument, right? When you pose a question, that's called a straw man question, right? Which has a very simple and easy answer to it. Anyone can work in the United States, anywhere, and can work in the US. That's not what I said. And if you have an opinion about individuals working in the United States and you go around throwing questions like this, that's because you're uneducated. That's it. You're uneducated on this topic. You don't know what you're talking about. And you're saying things that are half true, half statements that don't really make sense. And in not making sense, all you're doing is showing that you have a viewpoint where you disagree. So look, Apple Music 633 disagree with me. That's fine, but you're not correct. And if you want to ask the question about what H-1B programs are, or if there's something specific or like that, yeah, sure. But nowhere did I say everybody should come work in the United States. So there you go. That's my response to that. Babu Pra, what about the Texas processing time? Too slow, no use with SR. Yeah, look, man, I'm sorry that I don't know Texas processing times. Questions about time, I get them all the time. I don't have an answer for them. We just deal with the times. YOLO 438, EB India green card backlog. Yeah, man, it's still there. It didn't go away. I think we're going to see some, if we get increased processing this year on the 140 plus the 150, like the 290 we have, that should cut into processing times pretty nicely. There's another law, which I'm going to do a video on coming. I don't think it's not a law, but it's another program where it's about, why they're counting the derivative as part of the original visa allocation pool. That's another one we want to see come through because some of these things, these counts don't make any kind of sense. What about the Texas processing times? Yeah, I don't know. Do you see EB3 dates going back? No, I don't actually. I think that we're going to see a quarterly change going forward as the numbers that applied are used, and as the immigration system gets those cards granted. I think we'll see EB3 go up a little bit. How can I, as a Canadian, get a dual citizenship? So dual citizenship is a strange concept, but under U.S. immigration law, there's no negative against it. There's no specific against it. There's simply the idea that if you swear allegiance to the United States, you shouldn't have a dual allegiance somewhere else. You can get residence in the United States first, and then after 5 years, apply for your citizenship. Keep your Canadian passport. You'll still be a citizen of Canada, and you'll be a citizen of the United States. My cousin's a citizen of the UK and a citizen of the United States. He lives in New Mexico. Plan B, C, or D. So plan C or D, I got a question on YouTube. What is plan C or D? Plan C or D was basically the plans after plan B that were supposed to be used for immigration. And essentially, we're looking at some of those now. Some of those are, we're looking at some of those like the Reconstruction Bill and some of the other programs. I want to go to India. STEM OPT you can. For family-based green card after approval. It should take a year or less. All right. Texas precedent. Someone likes that question. STEM OPT, I think student visas can travel, okay? They're not part of the people banned. When will H4 EAD premium processing will resume? I do not know. We'll look into it. We'll get back to you on that one. Are OPT students required to live within 50 miles from office, even if employer approved remote work? Oh man, that's a real tough one. It's a tough one because with the employment under the EAD is pretty wide open and you should be able to do anything you want. The problem is the school or USCIS might not find it a legal job offer if you were so far away. But I think generally the answer is yes. Be careful because you might have a problem in the future. All right, guys, we ran out of time, and I hate to do this, but does USCIS cancel payment processing? No. What kind of letter we need from employer if we do employment-based I-485 with external lawyer? You need a proof of employment letter, the same letter they had in the I-140. Just need a new date on it. That's all. Peace. For how long can I keep somebody under supervision after they get ordered deported? That's a tough one. You got to file an I-246 first day of deportation. And under supervision depend on the ICE officers. By the way, they're trying to get a travel document the whole time. You should be looking at reopening the case and doing paperwork all the time to keep the ICE officer from deporting somebody. All right, Mbessa, thanks for that question. That's the last question I can handle today. You guys are superstars. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you watching what... can I upgrade from L1B to L1A? Maybe. Are RN nurses given green cards? Yes. You can get in a lot of trouble if you help somebody marry somebody fake. Can H1B holder file for green card for himself? No. I mean, you can self-petition under the NIW or EB1A categories. Are you that qualified? Call me if you are. Sandeep Paul. Call me if you think you're really a self-petitioner. Either that or EB5. All right, guys. All of you rock. Thanks so much. I got to go back to actual work instead of just talking to people, which I love doing. Bye-bye. Thanks, YouTube.